Let's call the meeting to order. Do you want to start, Matt, with the business administrator comments?
Sure. I'm going to try to be quick on this. Should we do the pledge?
We don't usually do that in subcommittees.
It really depends upon the person who's running the subcommittee.
Yeah.
So, okay, so first thing is what wasn't on the agenda but came up really quickly. I want to ask the facilities committee to approve a facility alteration request. So at the end of last week, we changed the direction of the parent drop-off. So we're moving counterclockwise around the building, okay? This is to take traffic off of Route 111. So basically the parents were backing up onto the major roads and causing a backup for this region. So the new flow is working very well, and however, we need to widen the road behind the high school, middle school to accommodate the drop-off. So what we're asking is the committee to approve an alteration. And right now we're asking for a couple quotes for paving, okay? And we're gonna select a low-cost bidder. And so the request, I'm gonna bring it up on the screen. It's basically gonna be what I just told you. Right now, it's the bid that we've got out there is $5,637. And let's see, this is the new traffic pattern around the building. And the important part right here is in red. Right now, it's not wide enough to accommodate the two lanes and allow for one lane to drop off students. Okay, so essentially that $5,637 is adding a strip of pavement to the side that's closest to the building, okay? And let me go to the next page right here. Here's the quote that we've received, and then a quick drawing of what they're gonna be doing. Okay? So
it's the other side of the walkway too.
Right.
Because I was going to say that rectangle was just as narrow on the opposite side of the walkway as it is that red rectangle.
Yes.
But yeah, they're not, there's no room to extend on the other side without putting in a retaining wall.
Oh, I see it. Well, what about further down that it doesn't look any wider than the part you have the rectangle on?
It goes down to one, like they alternate into one lane. there.
Oh, I see. Then it becomes, okay, so one is a pullover lane and one is a passing lane. Is that it?
Exactly. The outside lane is the bypass lane.
So the students drive on the outside lane, the students that are parking drive on the outside lane.
Yeah.
And the parents dropping off students pull up on the inside lane.
Okay.
Okay. Like
yeah.
the middle school students go down that walkway and go into the cafeteria, and the high school students go into a back door right there. So they're separated at this point.
All right, I see.
Walkway, they just go in different doors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
How wide is that swath that they're adding?
4 feet.
Is it 4 feet? Because
Yeah.
I thought one of them looked like it said 4 inches, so I wasn't sure if it was like, that was the thickness of the pavement or if it was a 4 foot wide swath. I could have.
It's 4 feet wide.
Okay. Okay, perfect.
So they're going to pave it with 3 inches of hot top. Are they going to put some base under that?
Yes, they have to put base under it.
Okay.
Otherwise it'll very quickly. So
Right.
It says here, remove grass and loam area, and then add back gravel, compact, and then fine grade. Paved
Okay.
with 3 inches of hot top.
All right.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm asking this committee to approve this so we can move forward with this. Because I foresee this drop off, we're going to be moving forward with this for many, many, many years.
Yeah. My only comment is about the amount of volume of cars. And I'm not opposed to this expansion, but it's going to come up when we do the capital improvement plan.
Sure.
Prior to COVID, we had a lottery system for student driving. Is that still in effect, or has that been waived?
No, that's still in effect. But you also have to understand we're accommodating grades 6 through 10, which generally don't drive.
Right, I understand.
we're finding that a lot of the middle school parents are dropping off their children, so much so that they're actually backing up out onto the main roadway.
Yeah. All right. I'll bring it up again when we get into the CIP plan.
Sure.
Okay.
I think it's a hard transition for kids and parents to go from, for, a couple of years, you're asked to drive your kids to school, and the kids get really used to that.
Yeah, exactly.
I know I told my kids, like, I bring my daughter because she's got a goldie bag full of stuff as tall as she is. That's not going on the bus easily, so so we drop her off, but I was like, as soon as that's done, we're taking the bus, and you should have heard that, oh, no, come on, so I mean, I think we've also gotten everybody used to the drop off, being in the cars, so I think
Yes.
it's harder for parents and kids to transition back to the bus.
Yes. This is facilities. You can come in and sit down if you want.
Was Brian on it before?
He only came when he needed to.
Oh, okay.
And right now we're talking about the bypass and the drop-off box.
Oh, well, I can sit by. I can sit in, okay.
Okay. So, I would like to ask the committee to approve this, this change alteration request, so we can move forward with the change.
Are there any further questions or comments? Okay, can I get a motion to approve this?
Move to approve?
Second?
Okay. All in favor, roll call vote. Dawn,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
and myself is yes.
Great, thank you. All right, back to my business administrator's comments. I want to, the auditorium right now, it hasn't moved forward as a project. Right now, we're waiting for the products to be delivered. We're anticipating mid to late fall. The running track has been resurfaced, so that is complete, and I provided a picture down below. The wireless upgrade, I think at this point he's complete. We actually have a new spot right here above my head. And right now, I do see him kind of working out the bugs, like I had a little problem when I came in today.
Can I just make a suggestion? I'd like these to not be called Tom's Big Three. I like them, they're necessities of the facilities that we own. And I think, there's been enough comments about Tom's wish list and stuff, I don't want that to stop. So, facilities needs.
I didn't really get much of that.
Yeah, I don't think these items need to be called Tom's Big Three anymore.
Oh, yeah, right.
There's been references to wish lists and stuff like that, and I think it's causing confusion. So I just want them to be projects that the facilities need.
Sure.
Okay.
Problem. Okay, I only put down a few things in here for conditions of the district facilities, because I think the CIP plan and LED lights is an important topic. So the first thing is the Bakey sewer submersible pumps were installed on August 11th, and the sewer pipes have been relined. Okay. The front entrance to the building, the new security improvements have been made. So if you go in there, you'll notice that there's a ballistic window now between the people who enter the building and the secretary. Memorial, we repaired the septic system for one of the modular classrooms. During the late spring, there was a holding tank for that building and it collapsed. Okay.
So that's what's been repaired?
Yeah, so we had to dig out the tank, put in a new tank and a new pump, and so it pumps it to the main septic system.
Yeah.
Okay. The high school and middle school, the new guidance office is complete. Right now, we're waiting for furniture to be delivered. Most of the furniture is in there, so like the principal's desks are, I'm sorry, the employees' desks are in there. But what's missing are bookshelves and conference or meeting tables. Okay. The next thing, which is new, the first step on the concrete stairs in the loading dock has failed. Right now, if you look at it, there's a wood box put over it and some yellow tape to prevent people from going up and down. So that whole step is actually crumbled away. So what we're doing is we're trying to entertain cost proposals to put in a metal set of stairs in there, so that if it snows, the snow will go through the grates of the stairs, but there's more to come. Okay?
Can those stairs be installed over the existing concrete stairs?
Yeah, we're looking to install them over the existing concrete stairs.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Did we already get a quote to replace that concrete, the bottom step?
We have not. Our experience with trying to repair the steps in the concrete has been, that it's broken apart. The best thing to do is jackhammer out the stairs and pour a new concrete stair. So I think the path of least resistance at this point is to just put another set of stairs over the concrete stairs.
But you're getting pricing on that, right?
We're getting pricing on that, but this will be something that is more permanent and will last longer than the concrete itself. It should. Okay, for general.
Are you getting pricing on a repair?
A repair would be far less expensive, but I can't guarantee its longevity.
Yeah, so here's what I'll say. Last school board meeting, I think we talked about budgets, expenditures, and length, right? I think you need to get a quote for a repair, and that person who gives you the quote will tell you how long they'll guarantee the work.
Yeah.
And then we'll have to make a decision.
Okay, sure.
I think we should look at every option.
Okay,
If it's a 3-year fix and it's half the cost, then maybe that's what we do.
okay.
I think we need to explore options.
Let me give you my history on getting repairs of single steps with concrete. I've been trying to get a quote for such a small job over at Bakey, and it's been taking almost 2 years. No one wants to take on such a small job.
What if you bundle them together, Matt?
But we will certainly try it, but I suspect that it will delay the project.
Have you reached out to there's seven people that have concrete companies within Kingston, and have we reached out to all of them?
I've reached out to one of the largest ones.
Largest ones within our 2 towns?
Yes.
There's 7.
Okay,
There's 7 that you can reach out to.
sure. I'll make sure that we reach out to all of them. I'm just giving you our experience in the past.
Yeah, my experience with steps is you get it replaced. I've had steps on my front porch replaced, concrete. It's lasted 5 years. It was short money as compared to everything else.
Okay.
So, and it may not be the answer, but I think we have to do the due diligence of making the
Sure.
choice.
Okay.
Yeah, just a question, I don't know, I'm not sure, I've seen the stairs, I don't know the size of it, we reached out to Shay down in.
Don, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I said, I haven't seen the stairs, so I don't know if they're fairly traditional, size that Shay down on 110 in Amesbury has prefabricated cement stairs. I don't know what sizes or options, but that's another place we could reach out to see what.
Yeah, these are cast into place. So they're actually integrated with the side of the loading dock. Okay, so moving on, we hired a new fire protection company, Hampshire Fire. We also switched propane companies, and the new company is 20 cents less expensive per gallon than the prior company. We actually had 2 equal proposals. We had multiple proposals, but 2 of them had the same pricing for the same term. I had to have the superintendent select out of the 2 because I had a conflict with one of them. A conflict of interest. I do want to make a shout out to Palmer. They're the ones that were integral for us to get Memorial up and running for before school opened. Unfortunately, they weren't selected. That's it for my comments.
Okay, thank you. So let's move on to the trust and revolving funds balances.
Sure. Now, remember, we only receive the statements quarterly, so I haven't received the statements from the trustees for this quarter. So there's no activity in the capital reserve funds or expendable trust funds. So special education right now that I've got is $241,237.17. I included the transfer that we made in July, even though we don't have a statement for it. And so the capital improvement capital reserve fund has $373,101, which includes a $50,000 deposit. unanticipated educational expenditures here. I also included the deposit that we made in July, so that balance now is $300,244.91. And unanticipated utility costs, which is new for this year, we moved in $75,000 in July, which that's the balance that we have right now. Facility use revolving fund, this is the fund where we collect the rental fees for SLC. That has a current balance of $130,360.91.
Matt, there's been some withdrawals as well, right?
Yes.
That aren't reflected here?
No, they're reflected here.
Okay.
I'm trying to do this off the top of my head. This one here is, I believe this is the purchase of Chromebooks for the year. But I'll have to circle back with you on that.
The one that you have the blue rectangle around?
Yes,
Okay.
that's something I usually report out to the facilities committee, finance committee.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Okay.
So then the last reserve that we have is the contingency fund, which is $537,817. It gives a total reserves of $1,582,000. Some change. Okay.
Question where it says excess deficiency of revenues and other sources over expenditures and other uses. Can you explain that?
That's a GAAP term, a generally accepted accounting principle term for governments. So basically this would be, they don't call net income, they call it excess and deficiencies of revenues over expenditures and other financing sources and uses, okay? Other financing sources and uses are those items that, and you won't find this in business, these are items that you wouldn't recognize as either revenue or expenditures. These typically are transfers of money between funds. They don't consider bond proceeds as a revenue or an expenditure. So that's another example of other financing sources.
Okay. So is it in parentheses because it's been collected, or what's the reason for that?
It's excess or deficiency. Is that better? Excess or deficiency. A negative would be a deficiency.
Okay. All right. So that means that money's owed to us?
No, that means that that money is going out the door faster than it's coming in the door.
I have a question, silly, but how come our month to date is higher than our year to date?
Your month to date is higher than your year to date. What do you mean right here?
On that, yeah,
Because that's only reporting the activity for 1 month, where the year to date is reporting the activity for July and
so that
August.
accounts for pluses, minuses.
Yes, right.
Just wanted to clarify.
So,
Thank you.
so to circle back to Jim's question, the school district can't hold reserves. We shouldn't be holding reserves. We're not a bank, okay? So basically, it's normal for the district to show reductions in its reserves, okay, based upon planned spending, all right? In this particular case, we brought in $11,666, but we spent out more than that dollar amount. So we spent out, so it actually reduced the balance in that month by $47,000.
So the 58,000 minus the 58,800 minus the 11,600, is that what we're looking at to get that 47?
Yes.
Okay.
Are we all set?
I am. Anybody else?
The 58 was that Chromebooks?
I believe it's Chromebooks, Wi-Fi. It's going to be a whole bunch of things, but I believe it's going to be Chromebooks. This is something I normally report out to the finance committee. So I'm not prepared to discuss that. I can get you an answer for it. Okay.
Well, if I remember correctly, was it discussed a couple board meetings ago? Did we talk about reduced cost and the laptops and Chromebooks? Good deal.
Yeah.
The ones that are
Yeah.
Does that ring a bell, Jim? Remember, we talked about the Chromebooks and laptops, we got them at a reduced rate.
Right.
Presentation on it, so.
Yeah,
You just, just let us know what that is, please.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, can we move on to the next item, Jim?
Sure. So I reached out to Unitel, which is our our electric provider, and they have a program that works with companies and organizations to look at their lighting and other areas, but we're focused on lighting. And they will do the audit that we've been trying to put together now for many months. They've got companies that they work with that they do this regularly with. They provide us a quote for the work of $2,900, of which they will pay 50%. So I'm thinking that this is something that we should consider, just like we hired an architect to do the plans that then went out to bid for the build out of the middle school, or we hire an engineer to do recommendations for build outs in that area. This would be well worth the $1,450 to get an unbiased audit of all our lighting in all the facilities that we want to look at. And these people don't sell product, so they're strictly there to look at what can be gained by changing bulbs, what can be gained by changing bulbs and fixtures, what can be gained by changing switches and controls. So they'll break that all out for us for our cost of $1,450.
I collected a lot of, I collected, I think, 8 proposals this past summer.
Right.
I was on the path of lining them up during Christmas to run them through the buildings and have it done for free. And then they could provide us with a list of what they would propose for comparison. So we can either go in this direction where we're hiring someone and it will cost us half of this amount, but it's not including the old middle school on this list, which I think it should.
Right, but we can ask them what that additional would cost.
Or we could do it for free by asking these other companies to come in and do the audit on their own and have them provide a proposal.
Matt, you can also have your taxes done for free by asking the IRS to do them. I think that we need a third party that's not selling product to give us the most definitive view. When I looked at those proposals, there was only one company, or they offered to do audits, but they were very unspecified about what they were going to do. And most of them were doing them to produce a proposal on what we needed, what specifically they recommended we do. And then they're going to sell us the product, and that's how they make their money.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to make it sound like that I want to choose one or the other. I just want to make all the options are out on the floor that this committee can make a complete decision.
And so we haven't chosen a provider, correct?
We have not.
So one of the providers is very well known within the town, has done extensive work within the town, and is very ethical. I'm not going to say that it is, but if it's a question, Jim, spend the money because we don't think they're going to be ethical. I share that concern, but the one that I'm going to recommend has a very good reputation, not only within New Hampshire, but with doing work in the town of Kingston.
Don?
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
That it's short money either. It's $1,400, but it's $1,400 that if we don't have to spend it, why spend it?
I don't think yeah, go ahead, Don.
I was just gonna say, I'm torn, because I see both sides of it. Always when we can get something done for free, that's the preference. You know what I mean? There's always something to be said for somebody that has no vested interest in making a financial gain out of it. they get paid to come in, they get paid to do that, and they tell you exactly what you need, not maybe what they want you to have. So it's, you know what I mean? There's a definitive difference there. You know, when you have somebody going out to quote a job that has no vested interest in making financial gain, they're gonna tell you what they see plain Jane. That's what it is. I mean, you have somebody going in to quote something out and they're like, oh, well, you know, it'd be great to have this too, because they're selling the product, they're gonna make money on it. So I don't know which way is the better way to go. I'm not gonna lie to you. I really don't. I mean, I can see merit to both sides of it. So I don't know.
Well, I think step one is to get a revised quote to include the other school, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
The other building.
Let me just kind of put my perspective on it. Right now I'm down 4 staff members. To walk them through the building, no matter which direction we go through, is gonna be difficult on my side. It's easier for me to have a turnkey process, as opposed to holding someone's hand, because we just don't have the staff.
So, yeah, so I'm not following what you're saying.
So which one is that? I guess that's the,
Well, I'd have to walk these people through the building.
I thought you were gonna have to walk the other people.
I'd have to walk them through the building, but they would also come up with a proposal. And then that
Here's
would
the
be
thing though,
easier
we already
to
have a
choose
plan
from.
in place of what needs to happen, then wouldn't we just take that in turn and then hand it over to those people and say, this is what we wanna look at, can you price this?
Yeah,
out?
we could do that too, but
So,
That's what I'm thinking, is that these people will give us the very, in my opinion, the very best analysis of what we have and what our options are. And then that becomes a proposal that these other companies bid on. That way we're getting a comparison from these different companies of what the highest and best is going to cost from each one of them versus just going with one company telling us what their recommendation is, and then finding out what their cost is on top of that. I think it's money well spent. And if it's a staffing problem, then we're not going to be able, you're not going to be able to show all these other companies. You're basically asking us to pick one company that sells the products to save $1,450 to come back with a proposal on what we should do.
no, that's not accurate. I was trying to give you options to the price where one is less expensive than the other. I'm setting expectations with a number of 4 people being down as to how quickly I can turn this around.
Okay.
We're not going to have this company walk through the building during the school day when there's children in the school. So it's going to have to happen on a holiday.
Or a
So which
weekend.
holiday?
Yeah.
Or weekend, okay? So which holiday is it going to be? October 7th right now, my team is focused on switching over propane.
and it's homecoming, so you're gonna have people
We're going to have teachers in the building.
7th, 8th, yeah, you're gonna have, it's homecoming weekend. So the staff's here Friday, which there's no kids in the building on Friday.
That's right.
But you've got students here on Saturday for the homecoming dance, all the homecoming games, all of that.
Yeah.
So you will have,
Right.
you'll have people there.
Yeah.
Sunday, no, but,
Well, this is something Dan Doyle could do as well. I mean,
Yeah, well,
this isn't something you have to personally do, Matt,
no, I'm
whether,
not.
no matter what
speaking to-
company we go with.
No, Dan is part of the team that's down by 4 people.
Oh, okay. We're talking about spending potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars here. I'm not comfortable doing that just based on one proposal from,
You guys can do whatever you want.
No, neither am I.
yeah,
Last time we discussed all companies were gonna come in and walk the building. Whether we do that with them or, you know, with Unitil's people, it still has to get done. We're not moving forward without that, right? I think we just need to get a revised quote from them on what it's gonna take, you know, how much more for the other building, and, you know, again, I don't disagree.
okay.
Then can I have a motion to move forward with this company on the revised quote? I'll let you guys know when it comes in and to give you a price.
The company we're talking about is Resilient Buildings Group.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I would move to do that.
so are we making a motion to move
Yeah, I
forward
don't-
prior to seeing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I would just like to try to move forward on this project. Because to me, it's
So
important.
this would give us a uniform proposal rather than trying to mix and match 7 or 8 different or 5 different proposals from different companies. Everybody would be quoting on the same standards.
I don't think, I would vote no, based upon what you just asked me. Like, I'm not gonna prove something I haven't seen.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I'd like to
I
just
think,
get the number
yeah,
first, just to make sure it's not like, oh, well, now we have to go to another location that's in another, and
Yeah.
now we're gonna add an extra
Okay.
$3,000 to it. You know what I mean? Like, well, and then we'll,
yeah, I just heard you're not prepared to do it in the next couple of weeks anyway.
Right.
But I want to try to get it done. I want to start the ball rolling as soon as possible.
So the ball.
Because for me, the time, we may have to choose to put it on the warrant, so I have to have it done before December.
can I just propose that it would take us 5 minutes if we called an emergency meeting.
Okay.
We could do it we can't. Most of us could be here in person, I'm sure, for a 5-minute meeting to approve
Sure.
something after we reviewed it, if we really had to.
Okay.
If it's that time sensitive.
No, it's just important for me to try to get the change in the budget.
Yeah.
Because
No, I know. And when do you have to have that for?
I'm presenting the budget to the school board on the beginning of November, or Tom is. Okay, so it may not be able to get into that budget cycle, but I'd like to try to get some sort of result in to the school board for December to be included on the warrant.
So Jim, you there?
Yeah.
We thought you disappeared on us. for
I
a
just
second.
dropped my pen.
And that's what we looked up.
So who has been primarily dealing with this group?
Jim,
Okay, Jim, they seem like, from the dates on the email, it seems like they're pretty good at responding. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yeah, I think they would respond in a couple of days. The guy from Unitel suggested that we reach out to, he gave us a name of the person to reach out to if we have questions or we need, anything clarified.
So I just think we asked for an update. They'll probably get it to us in a couple of days. And we're meeting again when?
okay, and I'll schedule with them, okay, tentatively.
Yeah,
on
and we
approval of this.
tentatively schedule a date with them that's just beyond that meeting, and if for some reason it doesn't go, you just say, I'm sorry, they decided not to move forward, and we're just gonna have to cancel.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the best way to
Yep,
handle it.
okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay, so do you want me to reach out to these folks then and ask for that update?
I can do it. I already
Okay.
sent it to them.
Okay. Did you send it to Mr. Penhoyer?
I think I sent it to the guy, his name is Joe.
No, he's not the one who gave us the proposal. He's with Unitil.
Yeah, but
Right.
I also
you-
spoke to him on the phone, and he said that he would speak to them and get an updated
Okay.
proposal.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. You ready for the next one?
Yeah, so the CIP plan, yeah,
All right, so, boy, this was a while ago. Rick had a great suggestion at the facilities meeting, which is in June, which I think was our last meeting. And it's to break out the priorities by A, B, C, or D, as opposed to dates of being, within 1 year, 2 to 3 years, and so on. Okay, and that kind of makes sense. So if I go down here, and sorry for the highlight, that's a discussion that Rick and I were having, and he was highlighting stuff. Okay.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So I just left it there because it was important to our discussion at the time. So the way to read this is the first item, like here, window replacement. We think that's a priority A for the Bakey School, because maybe the windows in the back of the building don't latch, and which is a security threat. Okay, the estimated cost is to be determined, but we think it should be something that should be done fairly soon. And just remember, all of this is not necessarily replacing the window. It includes everything from replacing just the locks using the existing windows if we can retrofit, or replacing the windows altogether. It's my understanding that we're having difficulties with the windows. It may be just full replacement. Now, the next item.
So I'd like a tour of Bakey to see those windows.
Sure.
There's, did you get the email about the facilities tour?
No.
We're having one for the budget
Yeah,
committee.
I
Right.
emailed,
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to be back on the 5th, so I can do it anytime after that.
So, okay, yeah, let's do a tour just of this committee of all the buildings.
Okay.
Okay, so the next item, and what we did was I color coded them in the priority because they go together, okay? Air exchange improvements and then fire suppression and alarm upgrades. And what I did is I put a narrative under the two projects just to show that as one group project, okay? Because if you're going to be doing air exchange or taking apart the building enough, that you should really be considering putting in fire suppression. Okay.
When you say the fire alarm is aging, what does that mean, Matt?
That fire alarm is so old that we have to be careful with the firms that we hire because some of the younger people out in the industry right now don't have the knowledge to maintain that system. So once that knowledge leaves the industry, we have to replace the fire alarm system.
Is the system working?
Yes, the system is currently working.
Okay.
So then roof replacement right here falls under a C. So C, if I go back up here, is something that's needed in the next 2 to 3 years. And then going over to Memorial, we talked about the building expansion, air exchange, window replacement, and fire suppression and alarm upgrades as one big project, okay? Because any one of these projects upsets the building enough that you should really consider all of them together.
I've got a question about what's the difference between B and C?
Let's go back up here to
And I mean, A is immediate, B is need in near future, C
Yes.
is 1 to 2 is in the next 2 years. So what's the
Yes.
difference between near future and next 2 years?
Could be immediate all the way to 2 to 3 years or maybe even more. In this particular case, what we're anticipating is that we're going to have to move out of the modulars that we've been using that are beyond their lifespan. We've actually had damage to the modular that we've actually had to tear out a portion of it in the subfloor because there was mold that had infused itself into the floor because of a leaky window. So what we need to do is turn that modular into a permanent structure on the building, okay? Right now, I don't think that the financing is there to do it. We really need to be paying off the high school bond before we can consider something like this.
So should C that if near future is 1 to 3 or 4 years, shouldn't B be the B be C and C be B? Because if you made B in the next 2 years and then C is need in the near future, I'm not following.
it's more like anywhere between now and 2 years, like a 1
Yes.
to 2 year type thing
Yes.
is how I was thinking it.
Yes.
Like, so my question is, I know we're talking about all of this stuff, and I think it's important to talk about all of this stuff, but if we're looking at taking a modular and turning it into a permanent structure, have we already reached out to the building inspector and zoning and all they call it to make sure that we're gonna be able to do this and stay compliant? There's not gonna be any issues with that?
Not yet, because there's not enough money to do it yet, like it's.
No, I know, I just wanna make sure we're not talking about putting something in the plan that they're not gonna let us do because of
Great
X,
point.
Y, or Z. It
Yeah,
doesn't make sense to have it there if we can't do it. So,
yeah,
Yeah, I think we should do that.
just a
though.
question.
yeah, we'll do that, but
Can't hurt to ask the
I do
question.
feel, absolutely, I do feel confident though that we have enough land there to accommodate.
And I don't question that we have enough land, I just know sometimes there are very setbacks and all that get very tricky, and if it's something that we're
Yeah.
gonna do, and they're like, yeah, you're gonna have to go to ZBA because you don't hit the setback.
Absolutely.
It might be something we need to start working on sooner than later, even without the funding, just so that we don't get to the
Yeah.
point where we need to do it, and then we're 2 years out because we have to go through all these processes.
Sure.
I agree with everything you're saying, and it could be, that it goes from 1 to 2 years to very soon if something really bad happens, which the building is already, the modular is at the end of life.
Right.
What we don't want is another repeat of the boiler.
Right,
We're telling everyone,
Right.
this is a problem.
right, which is why I think it's important to find out if we're gonna have an issue
Mhm.
when we talk about this.
We'll work on that right away.
Okay, I'm gonna move forward.
I've got a suggestion though, for just the general format. I think we should consider an additional column which says how we anticipate these will be funded. Is it going to be a warrant article? Is it tax money? Is it a grant? You know, what's the source of the funding? I think that would be very helpful.
Let's see.
You've already talked about one project that you're not sure, about the money on it.
All right, do you want me to talk about adding a column or do you want me to move on?
Go ahead, move on. I'm just making that suggestion so I don't forget it.
Yeah, so another one is roof replacement, okay, and basically this is at Memorial. Right now we're putting that in the category of C, which is needed in 2 to 3 years. Right now we're replacing portions of the roof as it breaks down. Okay, this is at Memorial. I had another one at Bakey, which is the
Oh,
same.
sorry.
Okay, so moving on to the middle and high school, the first one here, these two projects, I'm putting it as an A, something that we'd like to try to do because we have an immediate need. The first one is athletics, and the second one is paving the tennis court area. So if we're gonna hire a paving company to come out and do work, we should do both jobs at the same time, okay? And so the paving the access field area would prevent tracking dirt onto the recently repaired track, okay? And then paving the tennis court area increases the area in which the high school can have student parking.
How many cars are we talking about, Matt?
Jen?
Oh, okay, I can.
Yes.
So for the student, so I'm sorry, can you
For-
repeat
For
that?
the tennis court, if we
parking
pave the
lot over
tennis court, how many cars do you think we're gonna be using out there?
That we could fit?
Yes.
Gosh, I mean, I don't know if there's any like regulations on how, like the specs, but I would say we could fit at least 15, 20 cars.
Okay.
That's like a light estimate. I would say that I'm even being under on that. But I think it also could be used to help with the traffic flow. If that were, say, the student entrance in the morning, or with now that we have all this increased traffic, I think you could get a few benefits from it, from paving that and having, if you pave all the way up.
The only thing is if you pave all the way up, you don't level it. I went over there and parked the other day and looked at it after when we were dealing with the parking. And it's quite a process to pave all the way from the side road where you drive around, all the way down through into
Very
that lot.
windy.
It would need to be leveled, and buildings would need to be
It's
moved. The two dugouts are really close.
Yeah,
But definitely a good start would be having some additional parking.
Because the kids already use it, it's full every day, but they can't use it when it snows.
Well, that's the problem, is that they park there every day and they're like elephants, so they'll park there and then walk up the snow.
Right,
And if we could just even pave a walkway, at least they could walk up and down and we could plow it, but that's in the future. It is
Yeah.
something that I'd like to
just take a
see.
snowball on your friend.
Yeah, exactly, do it old school,
I mean,
sand it, salt it, snow blow it, we're good.
We are maxed at student parking and having to do a lottery system for juniors because, we have just more people on the campus. And so it would definitely free up enough spaces that we may be able to allow any senior or junior, no promises, but it would definitely help if we actually have them as legitimate parking spots.
Yeah, I came this morning to drop something off for my daughter, and obviously that lot was fully in use. And then because there was, which is great to having, everybody here today for the big fair, but there was zero parking. Like, I'm sure if I had driven around a few times, I probably could have found, a spot or two. I'm sure there were some spots, but for a quick drop off of an item, there was not. So,
Right.
if we can make sure those are there all the time, it would be beneficial. I don't know that it's a, tomorrow thing, but I do think it's something we need to look at, doing.
So did I hear 16 cars? Was that the estimate?
No, I think, I mean, she was saying 15 to 20. I think there's probably that many every day.
Yeah, so, I mean, again, legally, I don't know how many,
Right.
like, if there's any, like,
Yeah, once you pave it, they
Codes.
line it. If
Yeah,
they line it.
Yeah,
not my expertise, but
I guess you probably have to line it and number it, because if you're giving out parking spots, they have to be lined and numbered. But, I mean, that can,
I mean, here's the other side to think about it too, is, is it a liability issue now that it's not really a parking lot, but people are using it like that? And it's on school property. So if you actually had it as a labeled parking lot, I think it would also help with just the whole liability piece, that it's not a clearly marked parking lot, but kids are using it as such.
Jennifer,
Okay.
could you explain how the lottery system works?
Yeah, so, right now, all seniors are eligible for parking, so we have enough to cover all of the seniors, but we don't have enough to cover all of the juniors. I wanna say we're about like 25 short this year, or 30 short, to just say every junior can also have one. Last year, we had enough to let every junior and senior. So between adding more staff this year, and just like more kids who can drive, like sometimes that is an issue. So then what happens is, on a trimester basis, so we try to follow like the athletic schedule, the kid can put their name in for the lottery and get a parking spot, but we'll redo it right before like the winter sports season to try to help balance or give kids opportunities who didn't have one the first time, because we just logistically don't have enough. In the winter is when it's gonna be a real issue, because that tennis lot isn't usable because it's full of snow. So those kids are gonna either try to park somewhere illegally, park with visitors, I mean, who knows? Or, I don't know, I would hate for it to be a barrier for kids to not get to school too, so.
So as far as the kids having cars, and it fluctuates depending on sports, are there any conditions like academic qualifications that you have to meet to be on a sports team, or it doesn't matter? I mean, you can
you have to carry, there are specific academic requirements for athletics.
Okay. So I was thinking that to be part of the lottery, we should put an academic condition on there that you meet a certain grade point average, or you have an after school job, something like that. What would be the impact of doing something like that, other than inspiring kids to work harder at school to get better grades?
So right now, we don't use academics, but what we do take into account are students who may have extenuating circumstances. And I'm thinking really juniors, right? Because every senior is allowed to drive a car if they choose, if they have a car. We keep in mind, there are students who attend SST who may or may not have to drive themselves on certain days based on our schedule, their schedule, though that really isn't a factor even anymore. Certainly internships, right? So we do sort of have like a little bit of a system of, okay, well, we have to keep in mind if a kid is leaving to go to their internship down the road at, the All-American, then we have to make sure that they can leave to do that. And so they need to have a pass. And honestly, I have heard, and I don't have Joni here, she really runs the parking, our student liaison, but I have gotten 0 phone calls or complaints about it. So I'm guessing really we were able to meet the needs, but I know that the winter time is probably going to be a different story. And as the year goes on, Jim, kids turn 16. So like right now, we can't offer any parking spots to sophomores. They are just out of the loop. They do not have the opportunity to ever drive to school, in which we all know by the end, usually halfway through or the end of sophomore year, a student may very well be 16 and have a car. So, you know, we're limited. As far as the other stuff, you know, we do have regulations and reasons we can revoke a parking pass. That's all in the handbook. You know, if a student is habitually chronically late and driving themselves to school, or leaving the building without permission and coming back, or anything like that, you know, we'll revoke a pass for a certain amount of time. So, and that's all outlined in our handbook and then under parking.
Okay, the reason I'm thinking of all this is $40,000. I consider quite a bit of money, and parking has always been explained to me as a privilege, not a right. So I'm just thinking that we should look at applying some conditions for what qualifies you to be a part of, you know, to have a parking spot. SST could be one, after school job could be one, and maintaining a certain grade, average grade could be another one. I'm just wondering how all that would impact on this situation.
I think you also have to be careful though sometimes when you start putting a GPA on a parking spot, because sometimes you have a student that maybe really doesn't want to go to school and they struggle with their academics, and if they're not allowed to drive and they don't want to take the bus, they're just not going to show up. So I don't know how I feel about that one.
And I think too, at least in my lifetime, thinking way back as a student, where I think it certainly was a privilege. I remember having like very limited time to be able to park until I was a senior. It was definitely more of a privilege. I don't know as though that's how it is anymore. I feel like now it's an expectation of parents that their kid can drive themselves, that they have more responsibilities, they're picking up siblings after school, they're running things around. You know, I think it's, though I think once upon a time it was, I think it's shifted a bit. And now it's like, if my kid can drive, they should be able to drive. So, and certainly we can talk about other, you know, places where we do need to make sure we have, you know, criteria. You need to be, this is the expectation. I mean, we have that around prom. We have that around our senior activities and other things where if you're failing, you're not going. And we hold kids to that. And, you know, I just don't know if parking is the place, but maybe we just need to have more discussion about it. And I think too, seeing how things go with grading this year, we want to think about maybe, you know, how kids who, it may change some scenarios for kiddos.
But, and I think that to Jim's point, the next committee has to meet, but I just wanted to throw in there that $40,000 is quite a bit of money. And my question is there another part of the parking area that we could expand for a similar amount of money and get way more parking spots? Right? Because a big part of that tennis court area is driving in and out of it.
Yes.
No, there might be a spot. Why don't we explore some other parts of the property that we could expand the parking and have like 2 lanes or something? I don't know. I'll talk to Matt and we'll look at it. I think that's really what Jim, tell me if I'm wrong, but that felt like the crux of your question.
Yeah, I want to make sure that we've considered every possibility and that we make the best decision that we can.
Yeah.
And Jen, maybe it would be helpful if you send us, I know that there is an application form that you fill out if you're not a senior, if you're asking for a permit as a junior, and it has specific criteria on there, like, do you have an after-school job?
Yeah.
Do you have an internship? Maybe if you sent that to us so we can see, I mean, I've already seen it because my daughter had to fill one out, but she had an internship. But if you could send it to us, it would help us see what the qualifications already are, and maybe that would help, you know, I think Jim would be able to see that there already are specific criteria that help you get bumped to the top of the list.
Exactly.
If you need a spot,
We
for
can get
legitimate
you.
reason, you can get a spot. So that would be-
One quick question. You said seniors, you know, can drive to school, right?
Yeah.
So they don't get a spot whether they drive or not, correct?
Correct.
No,
So
they have
we'll
to
only
apply.
fill, so what happens too from year to year, you might have a senior group, you know, there's 150 kids. you may only have 110 of them that actually drive, so you don't need all 150 spots. But when we're looking at the mathematically, those are the numbers we go by, and then after Joni gets the initial rush of seniors that sign up, then she's like, okay, now this is how many I have for juniors, and then maybe all of the juniors can open it up, like, I think it was a one way or the other.
deadline as well for seniors, so it's like, if you
Yeah.
don't apply by this time, you're not guaranteed a spot.
Exactly.
So because that's how they figure out how
How
many
many you
senior
have.
spots they have open. So it's like, you have to pay attention, you have to hit the deadline, or you're not guaranteed a spot.
And one last question. For
Yeah.
the verification of employment, what do you get? A pay stub?
I don't know if Joni has them actually bring anything in. I feel like it's just like, hey,
You go on
you know,
the own.
yeah.
I have my mom write a letter.
Or we're doing the handshake, you know, this is, you know, being more, I'm not trying to pull a fast one.
So if I'm a junior and I have a job,
Mhm.
and I have a legitimate reason, I may not get a spot because somebody did the handshake and went on.
Possibly, so we could also, I mean, we can start looking at being more, you know, making sure that kids, especially the juniors, the priority, because seniors, it doesn't matter. If you're a senior, you're gonna get a spot if you need one. But then to how do we decide? And it's hard because then do we say internships are number one? Is that the biggest reason why, or, you know, if it was really tough?
Yeah, I don't know.
We can talk more.
Yeah.
We can
Okay,
revise
I
the
mean,
whole
if
thing.
if the lottery system's in place, parking's at a premium, you know, seniors, you know, obviously should be able to drive if they can.
There were 6 minutes over.
Yeah.
All right. We gotta let the other committee get in
So Jen,
Okay, what time is this? We go till when? We've got another meeting at 4:50, I think, right?
Yeah,
there. Yeah, it is
we're over.
4:56, so we're over.
Okay, so, Matt and Tom, you're gonna discuss, and Jen, you're gonna discuss this parking situation some more, I guess, and we're gonna review this again in the future.
yes.
Okay, so I think we need to adjourn the meeting, so that the next meeting can start up. So if I can get a motion to adjourn,
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
okay, and roll call vote, all in favor, Rick,
Yes.
Dawn,
yes.
and yes for myself. Thank you all.